those that could not, but here we are, May 18th, Tourism and Economic Development Advisory Committee. This is a special meeting, which is just a technicality in how we post things. So we're going to skip over the minutes since we don't have everybody here, even though I sent them to you or have enough to vote. Laura, why don't we just go right to you? I saw the post today, the Unlocking CT post. It looks like it's great. And I hope, Meg, I hope you saw it. Greg, I hope you saw it. You're okay. It's obviously Glass House, Grace Farms. You're all profiled in the day tripping. So Laura, you want to just tell us what's going on?
Yeah, as we had discussed and Bev and Laura had presented to this group, they run a very powerful or strong blog, and they've got close to 20,000, if not 20,000 by now, Instagram followers, and they just travel all across the state. This is a second job for them. They do this on Thursdays and Saturdays, and it's amazing the quality, the quality and the quantity of content that they churn out, and the beautiful pictures and the concise content that they put out. So we had a great day. They hopped in my car at 8:45 and we visited. Thank you, Meg, for putting that up. We visited Historical Society, Nature Center, Grace Farms, Glass House. Then we grabbed lunch downtown. Tucker joined us, and then we did the library, Carriage Barn, and then the the theater. And as you know, this was paid for through TDAC funds. It was very reasonable, and you know, I think they really got the essence and the gist. And I'm hoping that they will come back again in the fall. I'm going to help them organize if they want to visit particular stores and restaurants. Each one would pay for their own visit. We could do it in another road trip format and kind of coordinate it so they would come once. But I think it'll be interesting to see the traction. And I hope that I know Grace Farms was sharing it away today and, you know, reposting and all that sort of stuff. And I hope that we will all do that to help give it some legs. So you guys can check it out. It's just a nice blog post. It's linked to their Instagram. So I mean, listen, for the low price that it was and the quality of content, and it's something that we can continue to share that really sort of dovetails on our all of our assets. So,
and Laura, this was part of they have their sort of their day tripping segments, right?
Yeah, and they actually sort of renamed it the 7 must-sees when you visit Connecticut. And I've been looking at the comments from some of their followers, you know, oh, great, I didn't know this, I'll have to check it out. You know, will we ever be able to, you know, monetize it? I don't know, but it's nice to have as a record when we say, well, you know, what does New Canaan have? And boom, that link stands forever and gives a nice, concise overview of what each of those assets are about.
And did you think that was the right number? I mean, did they choose the 7 or
So they typically say 8 is their max, and you know, downtown was tough to do. So they just talked about that they visited one of the many terrific cafes and restaurants in town, and it just happened to be Rosie's. And, you know, obviously we'd want a fuller profile downtown, but we'd have to get the stores involved. But I think the key step is to get people curious about New Canaan and all the things to see. And obviously the whole blog post was linked. And you know, we need to get people here. You know, we're very unique for a town this small to have, you know, those cultural assets that you can visit and, you know, spend time, a quarter of a day. Obviously, Glass House and Grace Farms, you can spend more time at. So I think that was the key. It's a New Canaan teaser, so to speak. So
right,
we'll see how it goes.
I thought they did a great job. I enjoyed meeting them.
Yes, Jack.
Is there any measurable matrix on this? Do they provide you with anything?
We'll be able to see the comments and shares on their post, but you know, and I can circle back with them, and I'm sure they'll share some back end. But you know, I like it for its leg, you know, as opposed to an immediate hit. That is just something that we can constantly refer back to.
And Laura, do you think it might be nice to get it into the hands of more New Canaanites. And so I'm wondering if someone who is not affiliated with one of the feature organizations could share it on New Canaan Moms.
Yeah,
I would be happy to, but I think we have to often be careful.
yeah, yeah.
About
I think that's an excellent point. I was planning on putting it in my next newsletter for sure. And then, but yeah, I have no problem putting it up in.
I could plant it, but if you want to do it, everyone.
No. I'm happy to do that and just say, hey, NC Pride, not sure if you're following these gals, but here's the profile they did. And you know, I also want to make sure it's clear that I was there as and leading them around as a representative of TDAC, not necessarily the chamber per se.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think, you know, definitely want to spend the next week on sharing this and, you know, getting as much traction on it as possible.
Does
Well, I-
Live in Canaan, do they ever repost things like this? I mean, I know they do
They
their
may.
own content. Yeah,
I can tag them in it and send it off to them.
right.
Jack, do you have a question?
Yeah, so do they have a number of followers? Do you have that number at all?
Yeah, they have 20,000 followers or close to 20,000 followers. I don't know if you were at the meeting when they came and presented, Jack.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
Let's
So
see.
they started really up in Litchfield, Connecticut, and it just started as a much smaller operation. And they were finding that they were being asked to do more of it, and they were very successful, and they're sort of a dynamic duo. And as Laura said, I mean, it was really relatively inexpensive considering, you know, they made the trip down and
They
all of that.
have 19,900 followers on Instagram.
Okay. Can you just refresh on how much it was?
It was
again?
it was $1,600.
Okay.
So it was about, you know, $200 per area that they stopped in. And what's also, you know, if anyone wants a more in-depth study on their, you know, or a more in-depth post, they can certainly reach out to them as well.
The thing that's interesting just about their business model, I guess, is that, and you'll see it in the post, one of them is all about the content and does all the writing, and the other one is sort of the techie and puts it all together and takes the cool pictures and that kind of thing.
Right.
So they really complement each other well, but also just, I mean, having the opportunity to meet them in person, they're just very energetic, and they were just blown away by what we have here. In fact, they said, even if we don't invite them back to do a job, they're coming back because they just, they loved meeting Rosie, and we took them to a few other places, and they just thought they couldn't, I mean, when they started, I think they started Grace Farms, Laura, was that the first stop?
No, we did Historical Society, the Nature Center, then up to Grace, who did an amazing tour.
Yeah.
You know, including goodie bags and baked goods. We had an amazing tour there. It was your communications director that led us
She's
around.
so phenomenal. Yep, she's on a lot of the town calls. Elizabeth Rapuano.
Yeah, she did a great job. They were blown away by the library, of course.
Mhm.
And you know, Lisa gave us a great tour, and obviously, you know, Glass House. You know, they, like everyone, don't realize that it's this incredible campus, and they're actually both pretty knowledgeable. And in fact, there's some sculpture on site, Greg.
Yes.
And when Krista named the sculptor, they're like, oh, we know him. We're really good friends with his wife, and we've been to their house and all that. So
yeah, he's based in Litchfield.
yeah.
I'd like us to think, I mean, obviously, let's see how this one does, but I'd like us to think about if we could do something more like this. And in fact, skipping sort of down on the agenda, I had down here that town videos. You guys recall the videos that we did several years ago. How many years ago do you think that was, Laura?
It was 2017.
Okay, so 6 years ago. And the beauty of those videos is that if you looked at them today, they could very well be a day in the life today as they were in 2017. But, you know, we still do have, again, this is not our TDEC budget, but there is a budget assigned to economic development, and we do have some funds still left to spend before the end of the year if we see fit. And so I'm meeting tomorrow with, I've actually found two local production companies, for lack of a better word, that do produce videos like this. They both happen to be very talented young men, actually, who live in town. I'm meeting with them. They're separate companies, so I'm meeting with both of them over the next couple of days to find out what they could possibly do for us. One of them, I met at one of the Waveney Park Conservancy events, and he was sort of the photographer on staff there. He's a senior at the high school. He's doing an internship right now at some production company in Stanford. Today I was talking to him and he sent me his website, and I couldn't believe his website. I mean, you'd think he did a football game. It looked like it was ESPN, and he's kind of a one-man band. So at any rate, so I'd love to think that maybe we could get our videos updated, and I'd like to think strategically about that in terms of what if there was an event or something that we would want to bring them down for.
I just posted the 90-minute version in the chat, so if people want to look at that at some point. We did a 90, a
30 second, a 60
and a 30, I think.
second. Yeah, 30, 60, and 90.
And they really are pretty evergreen. They focus very much on downtown. One of them has interviews with people that it was all shot downtown. We worked on a shoestring budget with a very high quality production company, so we kind of kept them all in one area. And you know, I think we could, depending on, you know, who we end up hiring, we could, you know, move around a little bit more. But they really are great. They really make you feel great about New Canaan.
Yeah. So we'll move quickly on that if we find the right people. And there's a number of sort of town-wide events coming up over the next few months that could be sort of the launch place, if you will, for between Art in the Windows downtown, between all of the live series that they're doing over at the Carriage Barn, Music Day. You know, there's a ton going on that we could get them onto. So at any rate, I'll report back after I meet with both of them. I'm meeting with one tomorrow and one on Monday. So we'll see what we come up with. But and just on that note, tomorrow, Saturday, is Food Revolution in town, which is a fun event. It's probably our 6th, 7th year, Laura, doing it.
At least, if not more. It's run by Rachel Lampin. And she's got a PR company, and she's the one that really helped us with those videos too. She was sort of the producer along with the company. And, you know, unfortunately, looks like it's going to rain, and it's coinciding with the grand opening of the new Dunkin' Donuts, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it just brings, I think they've sold 80 tickets so far. They partnered, they really needed a sponsor. So I hooked them up with Berkshire Hathaway, who was really looking to sink their teeth into something because they're under new management there. And, you know, it's a great day for families to try new food and get out and stroll through town. She also did a stroll through town for a setup for the Dog Days event. Which was great too, getting people walking, stopping, looking at new places, and that was really well received. So just getting people to slow down in town and not be barreling through and seeing new businesses and restaurants that maybe were not on their radar is key.
Yeah. So yeah, as far as the videos go, and if there's anything else, the way we found the Unlocking CT Women was basically because I'd attended a symposium that was put on by the Connecticut Department of Economic Development that way back when, and these women were profiled as well as a number of other types of businesses. But so all of us are eyes and ears into ideas that we can run with. Which leads me to sort of item number 4, which is special event schedules. One of my jobs over at Town Hall is to keep track of all sort of the special events that happen in town, just to make sure, for a variety of reasons. Obviously, the most important is to make sure that we don't have multiple things going on in the same area of town where that could cause any problems. But so going forward, we have, when I look at the schedule, it just blows my mind how much we have going on. I mean, almost every weekend there's things going on in and around town. The biggest is this weekend is going to be a big weekend with Food Revolution. And then of course, Caffeine and Carburetors is on Sunday. And I think the weather looks like it's going to be okay for that. That's always a beloved event. The town did scale them back to 3 shows a year versus 4. And so 2 in the downtown and 1 out at Waveney. That seemed to be a group decision. And so that's always a great event that brings a ton of people into town. And then
Before we move off this weekend, can I just add one other thing, which might be an
Yes.
agenda item for a future meeting, but it relates to this weekend. Something I've been thinking about is like the interplay between youth sports and driving tourism and traffic into town and enthusiasm for the town. So this weekend at the high school turf area, there's 2 tournaments, all day Saturday and all day Sunday,
are
hundreds
these
of
the Connies?
It's actually just the New Canaan Lacrosse Association fundraiser hosting hundreds of families on the boys' side on Saturday, the girls' side on Sunday, all day long, billions of people. So there'll be food trucks and stuff there, carefully arranged with the high school, but I just keep feeling like it's a missed opportunity. Like I should think ahead about how to drive those people into town or other places. So just for the future.
So,
And you're spot on. We have in the past, we provided them when we had the full-blown Connies here. Is this weekend the Cochrane Classic, or is this?
Yes, Cochrane
this is the
Saturday,
Cochrane.
Girls Jamboree Sunday. Yep.
Okay, and it's also, is this weekend the 20th? It's also the boys quarterfinals. See, again, this is where the scheduling gets a little dicey. because- And Jen Joyce was the one who was coming to me and planning all of that. And we were really struggling because we obviously couldn't guarantee the boys were going to make it, but we knew if they did, they were probably going to be playing that day. And SATs are Saturday morning. And so the
Oh my
campus,
gosh.
that's the whole point where that campus gets kind of overrun and,
Yes.
crazy things happen. And I think there's a dance recital. I think New England Academy of Dance, I think, has their dance recital there this weekend too. So a lot going on. But we did, to your point, and it's a good one. And I've tried and I've worked well with the lacrosse folks to figure out ways to bring people into town. We provided maps, a cert when they were parking people, they would give them maps of things. And people did come because you can have a game at 10 o'clock in the morning and then your game's not again until 3. And if you live, in some faraway part of Connecticut, you're certainly going to meander into downtown. But I think there's a lot more work can be done when we know those events are happening.
the frustrating part is I worked under the prior leadership of the Athletic Foundation. They really wanted to make that connection happen. So for 2 years, I sent out an email to every downtown business and said, over the summer, these many teams from out of town are coming. If you would like to put an offer forward for those families or invite them or coupon code or something. And the response was abysmal. Literally, like Mattress Firm would respond. Like there's not a Mattress Firm in everyone's I'm like, they're here, they're young families, they have time between games. And I was shocked. I was really shocked. Because it wasn't costing them anything. It was just, hey, if you have something special,
buy a large pizza and you get, a couple
Right.
free drinks.
Right.
You know?
no response. It was
Well, I
very
guess that's the market telling us that they don't need it, maybe, but.
right. Or they.
Well, the food truck discussion has come up and we are going to pull back on the food trucks there just because we don't allow food trucks in our parks. The Board of Ed
Right.
has a different policy. We
Right.
don't allow them in the parks for that very reason. We can't have the good humor man driving through Waveney Park when we've got Gelitissimo and Gopher and all these wonderful places.
Right.
I mean, that's just
That
not
makes sense to me. Yeah.
But I'm also hearing that sometimes, again, in these conversations with the folks from running lacrosse specifically, is that some of these other tournaments, you arrive and they meet you there with one of the vendors, one of the local shops meets everybody with everyone gets donut holes, on them, and it's like,
Right,
here's
it's almost
one
like a taste
donut
of the
holes.
town type thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and they love it. Like they allow these vendors to be set up at the actual.
Now that would
tournament.
be cool.
Yeah.
And, Larry could be there and just, with a piece of pizza. Again, nothing that would conflict necessarily with the concession piece of it.
Right.
But 84 Sports could be there,
Yeah.
and he could be setting up his stuff. So there's more to be made of that. So you're right on, Meg.
Maybe for a future. Yeah.
Yeah. We need to think sort of cleverly and creatively on how we can do that. If the offers, the offers work both ways. The stores maybe think, it's not worth it to me. And I don't know if I'm the family there going to a game and I get a free soda. I'm like, I don't know if that's going to make me go there either. But having been on those sports teams, I can remember killing hours and would have loved to have had a downtown like New Canaan to walk through and discover. So, yeah, but there is a lot going on this weekend and I forgot. So all of that's happening and the weather's going to be dicey.
I think people don't want to give up their parking spot. You go to one, I went to hundreds of those tournaments and, on all different levels, and you get somewhere and, you're like, oh, we got a spot. So.
That's true. I think that the taste of the town on site might be the best route to go.
Yeah. Or Laura, I don't know, maybe, if we thought that was really a barrier, maybe we had a school bus running back and forth from town, if you really do have a couple of hours, I don't know. We could think about it. Because I think you're right. Once you're sort of set up in your parking space and you've got everything there, you're kind of camping out.
Well, and a lot of times, especially when the older grades, when the parents are pros. I've been to those tournaments, the fathers set up tents, they've got fans, they've got enough food, you know what I mean? They're like
RVs.
camping.
Yeah,
You
I
could
feel like
walk
it's
in with like
afterwards.
a Gatorade.
You get a drink, you go drive into town or something.
Right.
Right. Or at least, the dinner thing. Before you
Dinner.
get home, go and grab a quick bite or whatever. But anyway, all right, we've skipped around, but that's a good point. I'd like to come back to that at some point because there's definitely some weekends where those kinds of events are happening that we could do a better job, I think, of harnessing those people that are there. I know you've heard us for months talking about the business development guide. And I just want to assure you that we are really almost at the finish line. Laura, BJ, and I met again yesterday. It's now really in the hands of all the town departments. They're reviewing every single page. And actually, I can only say that sort of the time that it's taken, I don't want to call it a delay because we never really had a real time frame. We've been working at it as much as we could. But the good news is that because it's happening now, the town has decided to it's fantastic, but they're going with this online permitting system in all their departments. So there's a lot of permits that were very manual. The health department had permits and there was not a lot of coordination between the systems. So the town is now funding that. And so all the material, all the information about this, which is again, supposed to streamline everybody's interaction with town hall, the different departments, will be able to put that in the book. If we'd gotten the book out any earlier, we would have missed that. So all the town departments now have to just go through and make sure that all their staff names are correct and links, live links and things like that. And then we'll have something just to get out there to all of the real estate folks in town to hand out to anybody who's thinking of starting a business here and anybody else. Obviously it will live online, but so we are very, very close. I think when
is that online permitting going to be done? I'm just thinking about my food vendors for sidewalk sale.
So the money wasn't really available until July 1 because it was for next year's budget. But we got the approvals to start get the program sort of up and running and pay for it in July. So they're hoping that it's going to be up and running by July.
Great.
Yeah. So we'll see. I went through the special event schedule a little bit. The other thing that's consumed most of my day, and by the way, you guys jump in here, obviously at any point, but this Metro North branch line shutdown. Greg, this is probably sort of near and dear to your heart.
Yeah.
It's just been, it's mind-boggling what sort of a disaster this has been from the moment that they announced that they were doing it, which by the way, we heard about it from the commuters long before we even got any kind of an official communication from the state, from the DOT, from Metro North. But bottom line is that from May 30th until they're saying September 1, although we're getting indications from officials that it's definitely going to be longer than September 1. They're shutting down the entire branch line to make these repairs. They claim that when the repairs are done, the branch line will be able to be faster, so it will help with train times and that kind of thing. Although they did announce at the council, what do they call it? I can't remember. It's at the state level, some council. They did announce last night that they're reducing off-peak trains by a lot. I think there's like 320 trains now, and they're taking it down to like 280 or something. I've got to look into that. Jim Cameron, I don't know if any of you follow him, but he's a reporter who always talks about transportation. I talk to him almost on a daily basis. At any rate, so what what we did at the town level was really spent a lot of time seeing, we were trying to work with Metro North to, we spent a lot of time taking really census data, if you will. We were at the trains on a regular basis to see how many people are actually going in, how many are parking. And we did it for Talmadge Hill, for New Canaan. We sent out a survey to all of our permit holders. What are your plans? If the town were able to coordinate some alternatives, would you be interested in that? And what we learned is that we probably on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are the big days, as everybody knows, although Mondays are coming back. Fridays are still sort of dead days, but Mondays are coming back. That on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we have about 1,000 commuters going in and out of from New Canaan and Talmadge Hill into New York between those 4 or 5 main trains in the morning. And Metro North's answer to that is that they're going to provide buses. Great. However, when I really finally found the person to talk to at the Office of Rail, I asked him about that, and he said their plan was they're going to provide one bus, they call it a zone bus, which is the express bus. One bus holds 54 people it's going to go New Canaan, Talmadge Hill to Stamford. Then they will also have that same time frame will have a local bus, and they call that a local bus that will make the stops New Canaan, Talmadge Hill, Glenbrook, Springdale, or vice versa, and 45 minutes to Stamford. And then you got to get on the train and drive into, and then take the train into Stamford. And then they will have, I said to them, all right, even now, okay, so you got me at 108 riders, but I'm telling you, I've got 250 that go on. And they sort of said, well, then what we'll have is this protect bus is what they call it. And a protect bus is a bus that's all gassed up, ready to go, sitting in Stamford, waiting for someone to call and say, hey, we need another bus, and having them send it up. So really, really disappointing. We also know that our New Canaan commuters are pretty savvy and understand, and I'm sure many of you have done this, that it's nice to get on the direct line. And so you can often drive down to Stamford and to Darien and take the trains out of Darien. So we spent a lot of time sort of studying all of the different options between parking options, between availability, any excess capacity. And about 4 of us have been working on this sort of day and night for the last 2 weeks. And we finally developed this document, this communication that we are going to release tomorrow. We were going to send it out today, and I'll tell you why we didn't in a minute. But so basically we take you through, this is where you can park. Here's how much it costs. Some are private lots, it's cash only. Some are, you can use this app. This is the name of the app. Some you can park. Darien has actually an interesting, I was telling Laura about this yesterday. They have obviously a number of lots, right? I mean, they have a lot of space that they can, between Noroton Heights and the Darien station. So they have a lot of permit spaces, but they say after 9:30 in the morning, if someone isn't in one of those permit spaces, anybody can use that and just do it as a pay daily. So they're assuming by 9:30, if a commuter is not already in the spot, they're not going to come. And so anybody else who's going in for the day or for the afternoon could use that spot and just use the pay dailies. So we've taken this information, I went downtown, down to the Darien Town Hall yesterday, met with those folks, had them bless it. We're also working with Boxcar. Many of you might be familiar with Boxcar. We already use them in New Canaan. You can actually reserve a spot. All of these options that we've put out in this communication, none of it guarantees you a spot. It's still a sort of a first come, first serve. So the overarching message is the early bird's going to get the worm or get the parking spot, literally. But with Boxcar, you can actually reserve a spot, which is what we have at St. A's and some at Talmadge Hill. Darien, the town of Darien was not interested in going into any boxcar arrangements, but we have made some headway with a couple of the private lots there that have excess capacity that would want to do that. And so I think that will be appealing. And the surprise of it all was that we found for sort of people who live on the east side, the South Norwalk station has a lot of really nice parking. It tells you when you pull in where the availability is. The app tells you what's available. So before you even leave your house, you can see which lots have space. And it's really probably closer than someone on, from going from that part of town down to Darien. So anyway, we've got all of this information. We're about to put it out there. I happened to check in with my buddy at the Office of Rail today. And I told him we were going to send this out. And he said, oh, you might want to wait because they're putting one out tonight. They said by end close of business today. He just texted me and he said, I promise I'm going to get it to you. But so I just felt that we wanted to make sure that their communication came out again, that everything was consistent. So we're hopefully going to get ours out tomorrow, and we're going to send it out via, it's obviously going to be a press release. We're going to email it out to all of our commuters. We're going to send it out via the Everbridge system, which is the sort of emergency communication system that the town has. So every New Canaan resident will get it. We'll send it to all the press, and and then we just hope that because it's summer, that people, there'll be some vacations, and maybe this is an opportunity for more people to leverage, working from home more. And then as far as places like Grace Farms and Glass House and Summer Theater and all of those, and all of our, our businesses that rely on employees coming up on the train, I mean, the buses will be available. And again, the parking options are available to any and all people. And I'm also still hopeful that after week 1, when things settle in, if there's really a problem, that we could get Metro North to help us with some more busing. Remember, we're the only town that's really getting affected by this. It's not like if they do something for us, they have to do it for a number of people. Stanford, Glenbrook and Springdale, they're right there. Those people will figure it out and just, hop on a bus, one stop down to Stanford, and they're good to go. But Talmadge Hill and New Canaan are really the only two that are being affected to this extent. And to make matters worse, they also announced the other day that they're at the same time, they're going to be doing platform repair work at Darien and at the Stanford station. So all of this going on is just going to be make it a really excruciating commute in the summer. So we just have to plan for the worst, hope for the best. I think I got to give a lot of credit to our commuters. I think they're going to figure it out and find their little spots and their little routines. I said this to the Darien folks yesterday. I'm a little worried about how the Darien commuters are going to feel about this, because they could now, their parking lots could get full very fast, and they may not have the parking available to them, the daily parking, because they have a lot of that there. So that's the
Tucker, make sure you send me whatever Metro North sends you. I want to get it out to the downtown businesses, especially the restaurants, many of whom rely on workers coming up in the train.
right.
So
I'll send that to you, and I'll also send you ours.
Great.
And then Jim Cameron also has written a piece that he submitted to the Stanford papers. I know he sent it to New Canaanite. So, hopefully this will all come out at the same time, but everybody's looked at our information and said everything's accurate and looks pretty comprehensive. So Greg, have you had to make any sort of arrangements for this for your people coming out?
Well, we haven't made any arrangements yet because we didn't know what the gap was going to be, but it sounds like it could be fairly significant. The good news is on a typical day, we have less than 100 people coming, but I don't know what the frequency of the bus service is going to be in both directions.
They're basically going to have a bus, sort of a corresponding bus with every train. So they basically just added 30 minutes on. If you took the 7:28, they're telling you the bus is going to leave at 6:58 kind of thing. But they're assuming that that's for the zone, the express bus. They're thinking that they can get down to Stanford in 30 minutes. I'm not so sure. We've been driving it these days with school buses. Now school buses won't be on the road through the summer, and traffic will be lighter. But again, if this carries over into September and October, you'll have all of that and then some.
We might, look to get together with the downtown merchants and see if there's some way to supplement once we know what the schedule is.
We early on thought about chartering our own buses, and seeing how that would look like, and just basically taking people to Darien Station and to the Norotan Heights Station. So having people still park. That turned out, I went to DATCO, who's our town school bus provider company, and I went to some others. That turned out to be $14,000 a day.
Whoa.
Each bus is $1,500 a day, and you needed 8 buses because you needed them to go back and forth to be able to pick people up. And that was $420,000 a month. So that was kind of a non-starter. However, Boxcar does do a lot of busing in New Jersey, in one of their hubs over in New Jersey. He is still exploring the idea of maybe offering some busing from Stanford up. Whether the town subsidizes any piece of that, I don't know. We were talking about that early on. I mean, there would definitely be a cost to the rider. And the other thing that has not been decided but talked about is that we normally go out for the parking permit renewals over the summer. We're thinking we've got to get parking commission has to bless, or board of selectmen has to bless this, but we're thinking it's only fair at this point in time that if people are incurring other parking costs in another lot, that we would just extend the permit that they already have through the months. So they'll basically get that time free in New Canaan if they park their car here, and or if they have to park their car in Darien and pay for parking there. We didn't want to double dip. So we're really kind of doing everything we can. It's been very disappointing, the sort of just not the cooperation, because they've worked well with me, but just the coordination with the DOT and Metro North. I don't know, maybe they've done this before, maybe we're making too much out of it, but when I started seeing 1,000 people a day that commute, it was really a big deal. And you know, if you look at the train times, if you were to take the Metro North local bus into Grand Central, it's 2 hours. 2 hours from New Canaan into Grand Central. And then you got to come home and do it all over again. Brutal. And I mean, driving isn't an option.
The availability
gonna
of
have to
cabs
go
and
there.
Ubers is not going to fill the gap.
I know. So we're on it. We're following it closely.
Sorry, Tucker.
Tucker, I'm
That's,
just
as a
curious.
former commuter, that really is a puzzle, even with the regular routine. So I really feel for you. That is
Yeah.
such a hard one.
We're doing everything we can. Sorry, Jack.
Do you have the number of commuters pre-COVID? You say it's 1,000 now. Do you know what it was before?
I don't have the numbers. I certainly can tell you what the parking permits that we put out there in our lots. I mean, it's probably, it's a bit more than that, but believe it or not, everything's pretty much back in terms of
Oh,
people
good.
going into New York City.
Yeah.
It feels.
I just was thinking maybe
that's
that
not just
number-
us.
Okay.
Sorry?
I just was thinking maybe that number was going to be growing now that we're moving away from COVID fear. But okay.
It could
so
be,
you're-
but again, the time frame of it is at a
to
time
make
when
it worse.
you do take vacations and things. So
Yep, you're right.
And again, if I were a commuter and my employer was trying to get me to come back into New York 5 days a week, I would definitely use this as a reason to say, you know what, I'll get there when I can, but to put me on the train for 2 hours in and 2 hours back is not in anybody's best interest.
Murder.
Yeah. So,
We did use that South Norwalk station a lot, and that is a great station.
yeah.
There is a lot of parking. Once you get on the connector, you have a very assured travel time.
Right. It's a straight shot. Right.
It's a straight shot. There's very little risk of backup. You get right in and you get out.
Yeah.
That is a great station.
And we also found a couple of parking lots in Stamford, like Building Land and Technology has a lot that's right there. I think it's State Street, right there by the train. It's free. They have a sign that says it's free. It's complimentary. They ask anybody who parks there to make a donation to the New Canaan, not to the Fairfield County Community Foundation, but they just offer up their lot for free, which is kind of, so we've learned a lot about the parking lots for sure. So stay tuned. I already.
This sounds like a business opportunity for you, Jack.
There you go, Jack. Yeah, drive some people back and forth. I already talked about the videos. This is a point where we like to go around and just hear from you all what's going on. So I don't know who wants to start, but what's happening, or we've already kind of gone there.
Well, I can start. The Glass House is open 5 days a week, Thursdays through Mondays. And we've got our annual fundraiser scheduled for the second Saturday of June, June 10th. Tickets are available online for both the tours and the annual fundraiser. We're going to have some special entertainment, as we usually do for the fundraiser. And in terms of an exhibition on the property, we were talking earlier, but Mark Menon out of, I think, Washington, Connecticut, is a stone artist. And we have, I don't know, quite a number of his pieces installed throughout the property and in some of the buildings. So something new to see.
Great. All right. Meg, what do you guys have going on up there?
Oh, we have so many things. In fact, I just got a little like professional development talk with some of our educators today, and I realized that 4 times a day we have pop-up talks on site, ranging, topics from nature, pollinator pathways to architecture and design. And we have a number of pop-up talks every day. We have lots of events coming up that are on our website, which I'll put in the chat. And then on this Saturday, sounds like the whole town is already busy. But we've had a great response for this one event. We have this series called Voices of Culture, which we really just started this past year. Incredible musicians coming out from the city. This is a young jazz vocalist who's really acclaimed. And we've experimented with different models. This is a ticketed model, so the tickets are somewhat pricey because we were just getting overblown with people with interest. And so we had to temper that because of course we never want to be too busy and have enough parking and all that. So anyway, if anyone is free on Saturday evening, the link is in the chat. And then on the next call, I can give some updates about summer activities, picnics and
Sure.
things like that.
Sure, thanks. Laura, besides, you've got your golf outing, right?
Yeah, golf outing on Monday, and then then we're already taking vendor applications for sidewalk sale, which will be Saturday, July 22nd. Friday will be the local stores, but I've already had some great interest on that, fielding calls from all over. We're going to go back to our original footprint, which is closing part of Main Street. I got the state approval for that. So hopefully we can fill that up. But no, we're looking forward to that. And then we've got we're going to do a joint networking with Grace Farms is hosting very graciously with Ridgefield and the Wilton Chambers. And I think we've got, about 100 people signed up already. So that's June 8th. And then a women's networking meeting on June 21st at the library. So lots going on.
Good. Jack, Dan, you guys got anything to share? All your travels? No.
Well, I just was going to mention one thing that kind of went back to originally what Laura had mentioned. At the last TDAC meeting, we had talked a little bit about a cultural district. And I don't know whether there's any appetite to bring anybody in, but I did a little research on that to discuss that. So that could, I think we could discuss or find out how much effort it is to do it and what the return could be. Since as we were with the beginning thing, trying to, get more people to come into town, and a cultural district could help. But you may have an opinion about it.
No, Laura and I spent some time, I think we mentioned this at one point with the people up in Ridgefield that did this, and it's terrific.
Right.
But what it really boiled down to was someone's just got to lead it. Someone's just got to run with it. Because we met the one woman, and that was the first thing she said to us when we talked to her. She's like, this wouldn't have happened.
Okay.
She was, what did she say, Laura? It's practically like a full-time job for her for a year. Sue Schweitzer reached out to me afterwards, who's done a lot of planning in various towns. She does not think that there's necessary. She thinks it's a great thing to have. She said she's just not sure what the payback on it would be. But if anybody wanted to run with it and make that sort of part of their, their mission, then I would say we would support it. I just don't know if we've got someone that can dedicate the time.
It's the classic thing that it's a state bureaucracy thing. So the amount of paperwork, and she said she would submit stuff and it wasn't quite in the right order. So then she'd have to go back. So it's just someone who with very high executive function, extreme attention to detail, a lot of time, and also knowing where to get the information. You're kind of a hub for gathering everything. So where to find it, where to find the information, how to put it all together. But it was, and I was driving through Ridgefield the other day, and they have this nice little sign with the Acorn Cultural District and all that. It would be interesting to go back and ask if they feel that it, what the ultimate benefit was. But it was, it took her 6 months to a year to put it all together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And she was a lawyer, so she also had the legal expertise. She said that was a huge piece of it. Because she was a lawyer, she was really able to navigate a lot of the process. I guess at the very least, Laura, we could just reach out back to her since we met with her that one time and say, now checking in after a couple of years, and
What do you think? Yeah.
and what do you think? And so we could report back at the next meeting on what their experience was.
But my guess is we'd probably have to pay someone to do it. She had been in so many different committees and all that because of the amount of time.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd just be curious to know if it increased their tourism. Yeah, I mean, that's the
Right.
point.
okay. We will follow up. That'll be on our to-do list, just to follow up with her. And get a sort of a snapshot of how things are with them. I made a boo-boo on the agenda. I don't know what I was thinking. I said our next meeting was September 7th. I don't know what I was thinking. Our next, talk about wishing time away. Our next meeting is June 22nd. But having said that, what I said in the beginning, I think I'm going to send out an email early next week and just ask everyone if the Thursdays are a problem, if there's, and I don't know how any of you feel before I even go there, but is there a better day? I mean, it depends. I know the date is always the issue, but is there a better day of the week, or does Thursday work for you all? I know I'm finding I have more and more just town conflicts. But what do you guys think about another day of the week? It really just depends on the specific date, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, we seem to have a lot of people who've had, who have conflicts going forward. I don't know, Thursday's the new Friday these days.
Yes, I agree. There's a lot of, I feel like I can't keep up with all the town events, and many of them
Are
social
Thursdays.
things are Thursdays.
Yeah, and I am this Thursday for some reason I am wiped out. This was a long week.
Tucker, you should just go hide under a rock until September 7th.
Yeah.
The whole tree thing.
No, I mean, I moved out of our house in Vermont. We tore it down. We're building a new house. So I've had all that going on, and there's been a lot going on, but it's good. All right. Well, we'll leave June 22nd on the calendar as it stands right now. But if we decide to change that along the way, we'll let everybody know. In the meantime, we'll follow up on those things, the couple things that we talked about. If we hear anything interesting on the videos, if we do, and we do decide to make a recommendation to move forward on that, I might have to call a special meeting so that we can, approve the recommendation to the Board of Selectmen to do that. So we would pull a little presentation together and ask anybody that could get on Zoom and see what we're going to talk, what we're proposing, and then give us the nod. So sound good?
All good.
All right, we can adjourn by unanimous consent here at 7:49. I love it.
So
Thank
Tucker,
you,
do we
everybody.
Defer the approval of the.
Yeah, we'll
minutes
have to
till
do them the next
meeting?
time because we don't have enough people here. So we'll do them at the next meeting. All right.
All
Thanks,
right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye now.
Bye.